Yep, we got a. Well, I think we got everybody, unless there's a next button I'm missing in Zoom. But
No, I
um,
think you're good. Yeah.
yeah, me too. All right, good deal. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining Governance Committee meeting, April 28, 2026. And I am Jesse Mixick, and I will be your host. Um, okay, so um, there's a couple items under housekeeping that I know you did the recording and stuff, but did you a couple items under housekeeping? Amanda Picalho is stepping down from the committee, so we have an open seat. And Gustavo, we can all welcome Gustavo. He's here today. He's joining our P2 UI visual designer on the Thunderbird team. We've all been enjoying getting to know him, and if any of you folks have not yet, you are in for a treat. Welcome, Gustavo.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gustavo, the new UI and visual designer. I'm joined Thunderbird about a month and a few weeks ago, and it's very exciting moment. I'm very happy to be part of this team.
Yes, and we are excited to see what your skills can bring to our our group, our design system governing committee group here. Um, so yeah, that's what we've got in our housekeeping. Now, we can start with some of the items here, but some of them, the first one in particular, I don't think we have Melissa today. So, oh,
She
unless we
ju
do, it looks like maybe
she
somebody
just
just, oh yeah,
joined.
hey, there you go. Now that Zoom next button appeared on the little gallery of faces. So, um, um, yes, that's the first item on the agenda. Although, Melissa, if you want us to put you after the tokens or something, so you have a second, it's always okay. All right, we'll do any updates from Melissa after the tokens and JSON export part, which is next, if that's okay with you, Laurel.
Yeah, totally. Melissa, it's just the README file from the GitHub repo. Let me go back to that.
Is
Yeah.
file open?
Um,
Cool. Okay, sorry about that.
that's okay. All
Yeah,
good.
I can do the update.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes. So we have a README file now. Um, and for some reason the link actually sends you to readme.md, which is apparently Chess Online, probably a scam landing site. So
Let's
that's
remove
exciting.
that.
But yeah, it's just a basic README. We don't really have a uh, like any stage of contributing right now besides this council and just kind of online chatter on the uh, Element channel. But it's a good start, and we're hoping to get some more into that.
Cool. Yeah, we do have some working documents that are gonna come up during this meeting. So if at some point we want to start moving some of those in there, I'm sure it's worth discussing. But yeah, awesome. Thank you.
I just posted the link to the README in there. So if everybody wants to review that at some point, and then if there's any suggestions and updates, call her. Let Melissa know either through the Matrix channel or tapping somebody if it's internal stuff.
Cool. All right. So GitHub repo. All right. So the next item on the agenda is tokens and JSON export, which I am curious about as well.
Yeah, there's I still delayed on this. We've had a lot of things going on internally, so lots of shifting priorities. So I haven't been able to get back to this. One of the main things is getting our color tokens set up in PenPot, which has the best JSON export. And then we'll get all of the following tokens over there, but just haven't had the right ability to focus on getting that done. So still in flux, but coming. Along with that, coming soon will be adjustments to our range of surface colors so that we can accommodate user accent color initiative. That's sort of a wild card that came up in the last little bit. We talked about that in the last meeting. So this enables a little bit more personalization throughout Thunderbird desktop. So instead of having the Thunderbird blue, you could pick a color from your operating system and infuse it throughout the interface. So this requires a little bit of adjustments to the design system, color tokens, a little bit broader range. There's also a bunch of things happening because the variables aren't totally in. There's obviously lots of work to be done in desktop. So variables are slowly making their way in there, and we're trying to figure out where there's a number of hard-coded color values and adjust those so that it's easier for us to make changes too, but there's still plenty of work to be done there. So in progress. And then there are just some minor adjustments to some dark mode color variables. So just the text icon critical and the text icon brand. So I just noted those down, but that I'll bring up some things about our release cadence in a little bit for the design system. Just that's housed in Figma right now and how we communicate that in a bit. That's all, Jesse, for now.
Yep, awesome. Thanks. I'm not I'm gonna share my my window that I've got the document open on. Although I see a lot of us are in there already, but I'll go ahead and do that anyway. Probably should have done that earlier. Um, I try to avoid sharing the entire monitor just because it's a lot of pixels. All right, just gonna do it. Um, all right. Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so our next section is on the documentation site, and there's a few little subsections in here. Storybook exposure, content guidelines, and accessibility statement, which I know that these are in Notion, both of them, I believe. Oh no, the top one is in Notion, and the other one is um, in a Docs. And um, I know I took a peek at that, but if others want to take a peek at that, it would probably be useful just to kind of have an idea of what's going on there. How about the storybook exposure? Is there
Yeah,
anyone in
so I
particular
believe I was
who?
in charge of that. Is my mic
Okay,
on? Yes, cool. However, I don't actually, so I have a Zero Height account, but it doesn't seem to work anymore. So I don't know if it was removed at some point. And then I thought I reached out to Laurel, but it we've also been crazy busy between my services and design. So I will need to follow up on Laurel for account access for Zero Height. That's
Sure, I'll look at that. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
yeah, this is this will be a useful area for some of the stuff I'm doing also, which I'll talk about in a second.
I'll just follow up. So there's just a really rough guide for content started. Eventually, we'll get that housed in the resource section on the documentation site. Um, and the accessibility statement brought that in just because there's work going on in the accessibility committee. The statement is more like an overall company statement or a Thunderbird statement, I should say. But we'll probably put that in just for lack of, we don't really have a brand site in a way yet. So we're housing those things under resources, but it does play into the design system too. So there's a statement and then there'll be high level guidelines there that'll be posted. But then the part that kind of connects into our world there is that we're starting to plan for component accessibility component documentation. So that will likely come in the second half of the year.
All right, great, thanks. Okay, so next is the part with my name on it. That is a communications and public component release and version governance, which I am basically treating as a chance for me to write up a document with as much of the sort of like technicalities about Bolt and how it's released and how it will be used as possible and consumed potentially. So I have a working document that's linked here. Everybody can peek at that if you want. I'll it says 15 minutes here, which is ample. So I'll
I
do
I
a
I figured you'd want discussion.
yeah, I will welcome discussion. And in fact, a lot of my requests for discussion may be something like for those of you who have not who I've not talked to, which is most people on the well, I've talked to Melissa and I've also talked to Davi. So I've gotten a couple people from services UI, but not Todd and nobody from mobile and nobody from desktop either. So I'm gonna have to follow up with a few people. But let me see. I don't want to summarize this file. Thank you. Yeah, so I started just building out this document as sort of a working space to brainstorm some of these policies. And um, there's an outline at the front, but this outline, as it's noted at the top, is already kind of it's things have changed already, just as I've done a bit of work in here. Um, a better outline of what's actually in the document is over on the left-hand side. And most of these sections are largely just a tiny little framework, but this is sort of like the aspects that seemed important as far as defining policy and defining terms and things like that. Um, what is a release feels like kind of the starting point, and that's where I've tried to make a focus of talking to people so far. Um, and it seems like, at least from my research so far, the core part of a release is going to be making sure that the site itself is updated with all the newest information, and then a design toolkit that we as designers can use to make sure we're using the most up-to-date components. But beyond that, and the documentation necessary for that, but beyond that, um, a lot of the question that's sort of an open question for me is just what's the best thing we can provide to make this easily consumable by both internal and external contributors and developers? What bits and pieces can we give contributors so that they can use it, but so that we as designers are not stuck providing you guys with a bunch of code that we're probably much worse at building than you are. um, so yeah, I know the JSON stuff that you're working on, Laurel, I'm sure feeds into that as far as to what degree that's part of a release. And this will also all connect to what goes in the GitHub repo, because I know GitHub has a lot of methods of sort of managing versions and things like that. But yeah, this is where I sort of started my thinking about this. I have a section here on what are release versions. uh, Most of the discussion on this is about whether or not to use semantic versioning, because that's such a standard in development, and some people have adapted it very well to design cases. Optimizedly has a whole thing on basically their definition of major and minor and patch, which is which was cool. It was instructive, I think. I sort of summarized a little bit of it as adapted to our case below. Um, And there's guides out there for cadence and things like that as well. But those are things that are still going to require more research. Um, I've talked to a couple people, but if anybody has any comments here on what else I should add or make major framework sections of this document, I would love to hear them. If not, I may in fact be reaching out to people to have one-on-one interviews so that I know what experiences you've had working with design systems and how the policies can be articulated to make it as easy and as flexible for you guys as possible.
I think, at least from what you've shown so far, it might make sense to somewhat codify what the change documentation is going to be. Like, what exactly is a changelog going to contain? So we have some amount of consistency in what's in there, right? Obviously, that also ties into what is a release version, right? Usually, what you write in the changelog informs what kind of release you're going to make. At least that's my experience with development, right, in Semver kind of environments, is that it informs how what version you choose is based on what you write in your changelog, because your changelog is going to tell you what's in this version, right? So being very clear about what exactly changed, but still having it compact enough to be consumable, that's the hard part, I think. So it might make sense to explore that a bit.
Yep, that makes sense for sure.
I mean, semantic versioning is unavoidable, probably. If we're going to be doing releases on GitHub with tags, I think like that also it makes sense not to just fight that, but like at least, from the tech side of things, the semantic version is for the computer. And we can just talk about it as though, oh, this is Bolt 2, spiritually, this is in the second phase of Bolt or whatever. But I think in terms of releases, we shouldn't make up our own versioning system. We should just use the standard, the semantic version.
I mean, the big thing about semantic versioning too is that it tells us immediately the amount of work that we have to expect when we get an update, right? If it's a
Correct.
patch version, it'll probably be half an hour or something, right? It should mostly just be pulling in the new resources and it should just be fine. Unless we need actual manual changes, but still it should be fairly small in scope for us. With minor, we might need to do a bit more checking, and with major, we're expecting to need to check and do QA and whatever, right?
Yep, for sure. Yeah, the only other conversation out there about this, the only alternative that seemed to be suggested was some companies do this sort of just continuous integration where they just update the design system kind of all the time, and those automatically pipe down into things. But I suspect that doesn't make any sense for our case, especially if this is made for kind of public consumption as well as internal consumption. You'd need some structure.
I think it also doesn't help with the fact the whole point of doing releases and versioning is to make change management easier, because that's a thing we're currently struggling with, right? It's very hard for us to properly adopt changes from design changes to code changes and have that be a consistent thing that happens. And so having a continuous flow doesn't really help that change management, right? It means a lot more work to handle the change management, at least, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense. Great. Happy to hear any other comments. And if not, I may poke at you guys individually as well at some point in the next coming couple weeks so that I can add more flesh to this document and more specifics, and it can be something that helps us all.
Jesse, is this document, do you want to make it publicly available for comments, or would you like it to just be internal for now?
I feel like it could use a little more polish to make it publicly accessible for comment, but I would like to do that as early as possible, certainly.
Yeah,
Built in
like
required fields.
for an example, like the accessibility statement is open for public comment so that we could get information in from people in the community to help us improve it. So whenever you're ready to do that, we could share that in the Bolt Matrix channel and people can add their thoughts in.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
I mean, technically, if we're going to publish this video publicly, there's no reason not to make the document readable publicly. That's just unnecessary obfuscation, and that would also mean that your required field should be public then, for the policy of the document that it's bugging you about.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough.
Spirit of transparency and collaboration. All good.
All right, I'll take care of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Might help to get outside viewpoints if anyone has them too, so that we know we're starting to balance the community needs too.
Yeah, I gotta balance that against having to look like I'm good at writing a policy document.
Hey, this is a draft. It's all about improving it. Yeah, this is
totally
part of it, part of the process. Yeah, totally.
Let's see.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'll just note too that in terms of this community, we do have, so coming in the second half of the year, we'll be publishing a small set of design components as community files in both Figma and PenPot in case there's, and this will go along with design contribution as well, opening up that stream a little bit more. So watch for that. That'll come. But to go back into some of this documentation too, on my side, I've been starting just a really rough document. I haven't had tons of time to focus on it, just for the design side of how do we record our changes that are happening in the design system, and then how do we package up our own releases when we push to Figma and later towards the end of the year, when all of that moves into PenPot, how we communicate and do those changes just on within the design tool side of things. So more to come on that. I don't have a ton to share, but I did link my very rough working Notion documents that are just internal right now.
All right, great. Thanks, Laurel. Okay, so we have a talking point about the identity of Bolt, and we'd be happy to hear some thoughts on that. I think I got the current Bolt site here, if it would help if I pulled that up. The basic question is, do we like the identity, or do we think we might be able to evolve it?
A little bit more context. That logo that we're using right now is our ThunderMail logo. We kind of grabbed it when we didn't think that ThunderMail was going to lead, but now we've switched that where we're not leading with Thunderbird Pro, we're leading with ThunderMail. So we could keep it, but there's a little bit of that friction there. And then we've also launched Thunderbolt, which is the tool, the AI gen tool that's in collaboration with Mozilla that's out there as well, that also features the Thunderbolt as their brand identity. So yeah, so opening up to thoughts around the identity, if we should stay with that kind of concept, maybe explore some other ones. A suggestion for more of a construction type element, like a bolt, like a nut and bolt.
Yeah,
Open it up to the
I think
floor.
it's a good opportunity to explore an exclusive brand for Bolt. And I don't have any specific thoughts now on how it should look like, but I would be happy to explore some concepts for it.
Does this include the possibility of changing the brand of, like, as a whole, like calling it something besides Bolt? Because the Thunderbolt versus Bolt conflation, I don't think it'll be solved unless we go up to that level, but I don't think it
Yeah.
needs to be solved necessarily. I'm just asking.
My hope
Yeah.
is to keep the word bolt. I always
Hmm.
thought about it as the foundation and the construction of how we do everything. The things that hold all of our products together in a way. So there's a metaphor in there that's still the same. So yeah, I mean, we could look at it, but I don't want to get too far away from the initial concept.
Yeah, for sure. I've also started to type it into some of my documentation already, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
where
I don't
I'm.
want to, yeah, I don't want to totally undo it, but it doesn't have to be a thunderbolt, right? It can just be a bolt. What does a bolt mean? Because bolt does mean the connecting thing. So yeah, how things are held together, fasteners. I'm building a house, so there's all of those kind of metaphors. Yeah.
I will leave the floor open for a minute to invite any other thoughts.
My only actual suggestion whenever identity or like something relating to the Thunderbird brand comes up is we just look at the birds of the world, you know? Surely there's an art related bird we can use as our primary like logo mascot, right? This is a half request. Otherwise, I think I still find Thunderbolt a very funny name, considering whenever that comes up, I think about the Intel brand of USB ports, the protocol or whatever. Anyway, but yeah, I think Bolt. Personally, I think Bolt is fine. But if, for example, we needed to change away from Bolt because it was too confusing, probably something to do with wings or tail feather. I don't know, some other kind of like foundational part of a bird that they rely on to fly, I guess, because that's kind of the. Anyway, I'll be quiet now.
All good. I have tried to bring other birds into our ecosphere, but I have no leverage yet. Rock is our icon. Um, shiny things, birds. Birds collect shiny things.
Yeah, there's the bird that the oh, I forget the name of it, that like builds houses, and that's its whole thing is it collects shiny things and builds cool houses. But don't remember the name of it now. It's also a magpie thing, right?
Yeah.
You get to a certain age and you become very interested in your backyard birds all of a sudden.
It's true. It creeps up on a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, we just like to go back, with Thunderbird, we tend to it's an overuse on Thunder of a lot of things. We obviously dropped Thunder for this instance, Thunderbolt. So really the issue is not Bolt, it's the Thunder part of it. And then just that we're using the Thundermail brand identity right now. So that's the main thing.
If nobody else has Bolt design system, I mean, even that is like
Yeah,
just
nobody does. Nobody
simple
does.
enough that it's worth like staking a claim to.
Yeah. Like my recommendation is to not move away from the name, because we have a lot of leverage right now in place for it, and we have the domain like we have the subdomain already registered in that. So, and there's still that metaphor there. So it's really the visual. So, I could take it back to Gustavo, we could talk about it a little bit more. The other thing too is just to note, like in terms of brands take like on average like 2 to 4 years to really land. So we could work on massaging the visual identity first. If the name needs to evolve, we could handle that a little bit later as we get a little bit more maturity and have to make like probably a signal if we're making some major thing. But we're very much in a nascent stage still of getting this together. So probably not the right time to make a big change to it. Just a more minor one to feel out the place and see how it carries. And
Cool.
that's my 2 cents. Yeah.
Yeah. And it definitely worth a deeper discussion, reflection, and exploration. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll bring some things back to a meeting in the near future.
Mm.
So was there anything for community QA?
Nothing came in the Matrix channel, and obviously because I was delayed on posting the videos, I don't have anything from those streams either. So if anybody's watching this and you have QA, post please, and we will respond to it. We also want to grow our Bolt Matrix channel community too. So if anyone has ideas on that, we could field that here. Maybe that's my community QA. How do we grow our community?
All right, ideas on that front are welcome. We will definitely love to have any insights people have had on making progress there. Um, Anybody want to volunteer to do this job next month?
I'll also put, just because we have an open seat for a community member with Amanda leaving, I will post in the Matrix channel. But if anyone else is out there talking to any community that has, wants to join, whether they're a developer or a designer, please let us know. We really would love more community engagement in the committee. So yeah, raise your hand if you're out there. We'd love to talk to you. Back to the initial question, who wants to facilitate the next meeting, which is in May? That's a lot of awkward silence. I guess I have to do it. All right, I'll do it. But please, we're trying to rotate around everybody in the community to do the
For future
meetings.
reference, it's not too hard. I mostly, at least for me today, the agenda was generally handled, and it was just mostly just you guys contributing and me just walking through the steps. So, um, all right, yep, sounds good. We'll keep asking.
Thanks, all. You know, you're all, there's lots going on internally, but yeah, it's great. Thanks for coming together with us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, yo.
Thank you.